So I'll just get us started and then hand over screen sharing to Davida. So welcome everyone who is here. I know we've got a lot of people who are looking forward to tuning in at a later date. I know we're in the middle of the day at the moment, so it's hard to get away for a lot of us. But Sarah Grace, Davida, and I are going to give a pretty hands-on demonstration of what AphasiaBank has to offer. Davida will do most of that because she is intimately related to AphasiaBank at this point and knows the most of all of us, will give us some really great insight. So before we get there, I wanted just to do a plug for what we're doing. So FOQUSAphasia is really a networking group where we can share resources, develop studies together, and really just improve the evidence around spoken discourse in aphasia. We do have actually about 70 members at this point. We've updated our membership platform so you can go in and add yourself to the directory and then join our Slack group. It's kind of how you get involved. So head over to our website to do that. It's brand new, so if you've been a member before, the directory's new, so we need you to go add yourself. And I also wanted to plug for some of the talks that are coming up. I bolded the one that's on October 15th because it's a follow-up to this one, and that's using Clan, which is a software developed with TalkBank, which is the kind of umbrella under which AphasiaBank sits. It's a great software that looks at a lot of quantitative information from the discourse that we'll show you today. So anything you can extract related to linguistic information, you can use Clan to do. And so we're going to give a workshop, hands-on, similar again, on the 15th. But I also wanted to plug for some other talks coming up. You can see them listed here, and they're also on the website. And I love that they're for very different topics.
It doesn't look like you preceded the slides, at least on my end.
No. Okay, hold on. It's proceeded on my end. So you guys are just going to have to pretend that you can see it. How about this?
There. Now we can see it.
I'll just crop it down. But here are some talks that are coming up. I don't know why the full screen doesn't want to play nicely, but that's okay. And if anyone wants to give a talk, there's a contact form on the website, and you can also just email me or email any of us who do this. So with that, I will go ahead and stop screen sharing. And Davida, I think I made you a co-host, so you should be able to screen share. Let me stop.
Okay.
And we'll jump into it. PowerPoint's been having a lot of issues with screen sharing on Zoom, so I'm hoping they resolve. All right, I'll mute myself.
Okay, let me lose this one. Okay. All right, so we can see the TalkBank page, everybody? Yes? Okay, great. Well, hello to everyone. I'm happy to have the opportunity to do this. I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, at Carnegie Mellon University. I'm working with Brian McWhinney in the psychology department on this wonderful project that he created a long time ago called TalkBank. And this is the main web page for TalkBank. We're just at talkbank.org up here. And I want to really give you a bit of an overview and a tour today. I'm not going to go in depth on anything. I'm going to kind of do a quick and dirty highlight of some places that I think are important to know about at the TalkBank webpage and at the AphasiaBank webpage. And then you can explore those more on your own. We can explore them more in another themed conversation, you know, whatever's good. And then I want to make sure there's plenty of time for Bree and Sarah Grace to talk about ways that they've used the resources and the applications that they've come up with for data analysis. And, you know, not knowing exactly who was going to participate, I didn't know how familiar people were with this material. So I apologize if it's too basic. I apologize if it's not exactly, you know, what people need. But let's just get started. Okay, so this is the main TalkBank web page. As Bree said, this is this kind of, you should view it kind of as an umbrella, this TalkBank project, as Brian calls it. was started to foster research on language and emphasizing, as he says, spoken communication. And up here, this summary says that there are repositories in 14 research areas. And you can also see that there are also repositories in lots of different languages. So this is an international effort. It started out definitely with a focus on child language, and that's this database here, the child's database. That's the big one. And as Brian also summarizes up here, there are many thousands of published articles that have used the resources in the TalkBank collection. So it started out with child language. As you can see here, there are several child language banks, there are some conversation banks, there are multilingual banks, and then down below here are the clinical banks. So there's Dementia Bank, RHD Bank, TBI Bank, AphasiaBank, Autism Spectrum Disorders, and then the newest one is Fluency Bank, which is a really fabulous project that got funded about a year or two ago with Brian and Nan Bernstein-Ratner from University of Maryland. And I really encourage you to click on each of these links and just take a look at what's available. Just click, click, click away. There are times where certain things are password protected, and it tells you at the top, I'll show you later when we get to the AphasiaBank website, what to do if you want access, which is really, as long as you're a faculty member or a licensed clinician, you just write a note to Brian or to Nan and you get access. It's very simple. It just needs to be something that's, that's regulated. Let me point out a few things here at the main TalkBank webpage, and then we'll go straight to AphasiaBank. So I just want to point out this link here, ground rules, which I'll click on. And there are basic rules for data usage. There's a code of ethics. So anybody who asks to join is directed to this site and asked to read it and abide by the ground rules and the code of ethics. And that's just a very important link to be aware of. In this area also, I would point out contributing. We encourage people to add any kinds of samples that they may have of discourse. It could be one person that you've tested in your clinic. It could be 25 people that you decide to run and test. If you collect some connected speech data, it could be using the standard AphasiaBank protocol, which we'll talk about in a minute, or it could be any kind of protocol that you use in your clinic, in your practice, in your work, that you would like to contribute for other people to make use of, to study, to archive. And it gets you an ISBN number, it gets a citation, it gets a page at AphasiaBank explaining your corpus, and people can use it. And the effort that you've made to collect that data and contribute it can go so much farther than whatever your individual purposes were. So we encourage people to contribute there, and if you're interested, you just shoot us an email. There's a contribution form that gives your permission, and then there's an easy way here to transfer any kind of audio or video files that you've collected. And then, of course, if you're contributing data, you often need to worry about IRBs, and there's a link here that explains IRB principles. And I would point out down here at the bottom, there are lots of links to sample IRB forms and consent forms that you can use if that's something that you need any help with. So yeah, so right at the TalkBank webpage, there's the ground rules, there's information about contributing, and there's IRB samples. The other thing I'd like to point out here is over here in manuals. There are links to the chat manual, which is about how to transcribe, clan manual, how to do analyses on those transcripts. More is some advanced analyses you can do. That's something we'll deal with probably more later in the next discussion of this topic. But again, you just click on the link and you get the manual to pop up. And, you know, it has a table of contents and it's pretty massive and pretty thorough, but you can also search for things you're interested in. Down below here is an SLP's Guide to Clan, and that's kind of an abridged manual. This was something that Nan Bernstein-Ratner felt very strongly about. She said, nobody's going to be able to read that clan manual and nobody's going to learn how to do it. So she kind of made a hand-holding user's guide, like, now do this. Okay, now you should see this. Now do that. And really just taking out the core elements that SLPs and students are going to need to do this. So that's definitely shorter and more user-friendly, and that's another way to learn about how to do chat and clan. And then a third option are these tutorial screencasts that we made. And you'll see that they're mostly like somewhere between 2 or 3 minutes up to maximum like 6 or 7. And they're just short videos of different parts of the process. So if you want to learn how to transcribe, that process is broken down into little demo videos. And then if you want to do some commands, some analyses of your transcripts, there's just lots of short videos about how to do the various chat and clan things. And there's even right here, there's a second page of screencasts with a few more, but that's just something I also wanted to point out. So the manuals about chat and clan, the screencasts, little tutorial screencasts, and the SLP's guide, those are worth knowing about. The clan program itself, if you want to download it, if you don't already have it, if you're interested in pursuing this, is right here. You do either the Windows version or the Mac version, and it's being updated to work with Catalina. So if you've updated your Mac to Catalina, it might not work right just yet, but any minute now it's going to be good. So that's just a little heads up about that. Okay, I think those were the main things I wanted to point out about the TalkBank webpage. Let's run over to AphasiaBank. I don't know if there are any, I don't know if, Bree, if there's a chat with questions, if I can just keep going, if anyone wants to interrupt me.
Yeah, I think we can pop questions in the chat, but at the moment there aren't any. So if anyone has, Sarah Grace and I can monitor it. Okay,
great. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is click on the clinical bank here, the AphasiaBank link. And first thing I want to point out here is right here. If you're not a member of AphasiaBank and you'd like to join, just send an email to Brian at that address with your contact information and affiliation and just a brief statement, like a sentence, about how you envision using the data. And if you're a student, or if you know of any students who want to join, they have to get access through the faculty member. Students are not allowed to join on their own. But if a faculty member joins and is willing to supervise and oversee their work, have them read those ground rules and the code of ethics and know that they shouldn't recirculate or reuse any of the videos, they can get access through that faculty member. Okay. Again, I'm going to highlight a few of the links here. Anything patient-related is password protected. So you can click around a lot of links here and access a lot of things, but not everything. So if you're not a member and you want access to everything, just shoot Brian a note. The first thing I want to show you is in the teaching resources down here. There's a Grand Rounds student link. And this is a resource that was developed for educational purposes because we had this vast collection, this just rich gold mine of people with aphasia doing these various discourse tasks. And it would be really hard or nearly impossible for any given professor here or there at this university to know how to take advantage of that. So we kind of mined and curated the collection and tried to create a resource that could be used by instructors to discuss aphasia and give examples of typical behaviors of aphasia and typical types of aphasia, but not to be like a textbook, more to be like the whole notion of grand rounds, to create an opportunity for discussion of symptoms and discussions of assessment ideas and discussion of treatment ideas. So there are different cases that are presented with case histories, and then there are various video links. So I hesitate to show too many of these because we're going to be on YouTube, and as I said, this is password protected. I will show a couple of things, and I think Bree said she'll be able to knock those out. But I just want to show you that, for example, you get here and you click on this and a video comes up with an example of whatever is being discussed at this point in the grand rounds. And then there are questions for discussion. Then another example, some more videos. The videos again are short and questions for discussion. Then some questions about treatment focus. Why might you consider this? Why might you consider that? What strengths did you notice? What weaknesses? And so forth. So it's really created, again, to kind of model that grand rounds teaching strategy rather than to be like another textbook kind of thing. But it has lots and lots of videos, all the different types of aphasia. It has a case where there's maybe some disagreement about what type of aphasia does the person have, and a little bit of a discussion about the whole notion of classification, shows the stimulus items that the people were discussing, and so forth. So this is something that instructors can use, and this is something that has a separate username and password that instructors can give to their students, again, once they've discussed the ethics of and the ground rules about shared databases. Okay, so that's grand round students. Instructors can download the videos for this separately if they want to use those for any purposes. There's also an examples page where there are word level and sentence level and discourse level features typical of aphasia, and then a bunch of examples. Again, super short. So for example, you click on this and you'd see an example of a word finding problem and a little bit of information about that person and the task she's doing. Okay. All right. Membership information, grand rounds, examples, databases. Okay. This area here really talks about the whole collection that AphasiaBank has. So let me skip the browsable database. I'll go to that in a minute. When we talk about the protocol database, what we mean is there was a standard discourse protocol that was developed by a group of people when AphasiaBank first got funded about 13 years ago. This group of people came up with a standard discourse protocol that all sites would collect and contribute so that we'd be able to have similar tasks, similar administration techniques, and as much kind of systematic discourse data as we could. So over here, you could click on AphasiaBank protocol and you'll see what are the elements of the protocol. But here in protocol database, you can see how many different corpora we have that use this standard discourse protocol, where there's certain free speech questions, there's certain picture descriptions, there's a procedural discourse task, there's a Cinderella storytelling, and everybody does all those things. So if we just click on English aphasia, again, now you see all the different aphasia centers and universities that have contributed data using this standard discourse protocol. So for example, if I click on ACWT, we get more information about that site, the Aphasia Center of West Texas. And if we want, we could download transcripts, we could download the media. But again, if you want to explore what's in the collection, this would be the way to do it. You would go for the protocol. Then there's a whole bunch of contributions that people have made that are not using that standard discourse protocol. Somebody may, Friedrichsen's lab had a whole bunch of WAB picture descriptions from a clinical research study. They contributed that. This Cheel Flayhive collection has a bunch of interesting things. There are conversations, there are cookie thefts. Here's one where there's one person with Broca's aphasia who's done some, conversations in certain contexts. So people have contributed all kinds of things. The Quick Aphasia Battery from Stephen Wilson. We have 16 individuals with videos in the Quick Aphasia Battery. Great oral reading tests from Kimberly Smith in South Alabama. So again, lots of different interesting corpora that can be explored. And again, you would just click on that link and you would find out what's in that corpus. And there may also be demographic information, test data, whatever. I just want to kind of give you an idea of how to navigate this and where to look. And again, we can go further on anything in the future, but I know you look at this and it's just a lot of text, a lot of words, a lot of categories, and you don't know what's where. So this database area would show you what we have. In fact, group sessions, these aren't transcribed at all, but we've got several sites that have contributed group therapy sessions. And this is could be really interesting and valuable to pursue also, if that's what you're interested in. Okay, so those are the databases. Let me now just show you this browsable database. If you click on that, you now get a directory over here in the top left. And this kind of corresponds to what we just saw when we looked at the databases. So now I want to go to English, and you see we could watch the group stuff. We could look for some of those non-protocol things, but I'm going to go to aphasia. Here, aphasia means people who did the standard discourse protocol in aphasia. So I go here and I see all those centers and universities that contributed that standard discourse protocol, and I'll go to the top one, ACWT, Aphasia Center of West Texas, and I'll just click on the first person here to show you how this works. So this shows you the video simultaneously with the transcript. This is the transcript done in chat format. Up here on this ID tier, you see that this is a 69-year-old woman, well, almost 70, 69 years, 11 months, female. Her WAB type was Broca, and her WAB aphasia quotient was 63.9. And then what you can do is you can click on any of these arrows, and then you get to hear her speech and watch her. So I'm going to click on it for like a minute or so.
I'm going to be asking you to do some talking.
Yeah, well.
How do you think your speech is these days?
Yeah. Ta-da.
Okay. Anything else? Do you remember when you had your stroke?
Yes. It's 2002, days now. After New Year's Day, 2000.
2000?
Okay. So that's just an example of the browsable database. Everything's available here to watch and access. Again, you would need the username and password. And even if things aren't transcribed, they're still here and you could watch them. For example, all those group therapy sessions, you could click on them and watch them even though they're not transcribed. Let me actually point out one other thing real quickly before we leave here. If I pull up this transcript again, over here where it says dependent tiers, if you click on %MOR, that's for morphological tier, and then say set options, you'll see that this automatic morphological tier appears below each speaker tier. And this is one of the things that once you transcribe in chat format, you run a command called more and automatically get this complete morphosyntactic parsing that inserts that information underneath each speaker tier. It's messy to look at here if you're trying to just, listen to a person and show some behaviors, but I just want to show you that that's in there and it exists if you want to look at it or want to, show students that or do anything with that. So I'm going to unclick it now back to set options. It's just the speaker tier. Okay. A few last things at the AphasiaBank website, and then I'm going to pass this back. Oops. Let's go back to AphasiaBank. All right. All right. I already told you about the IRB examples from the main TalkBank webpage. That's here too. I want to point out this discourse analysis link here. Take a look at this if you're interested. There's lots of links to information about ways to analyze discourse, some basic literature. Some people, in addition to contributing samples and transcripts and videos and media files and so forth, have also contributed their data analysis spreadsheets. So that's a very valuable thing too. If somebody has counted content information units or main concepts or other things in these samples and we share them, then we don't all need to go back and redo that ourselves, or we can do studies on replication and various other psychometrics. So we encourage people also to contribute analysis results if they've done analyses on these any of these data. 3 more things and then I'm done. Publications. There's a list here, bibliography of articles that have been published that have used AphasiaBank data. This one here has clickable links. So I think it starts back in 2007 and goes all the way to 2020. Hundreds of articles at this point you can see that have been published on this topic, and if we happen to click, I just happened to land on one by Stark and colleagues, and we click on that and there should be the article. So lots of resources there also for publications. Also below that, posters and presentations. So these are all, we hope, mostly all of the posters that have been done using the database. And if you've missed these meetings or missed these posters or want to show students examples of things that they can do with the data, again, you can just click on a link and see the poster. So those are not password protected, the publications and posters. And I think that's it. Yeah, I think those are the main things I wanted to point out, but I encourage you to poke around on your own. I just wanted to highlight the important spots and explain what they are. Okay.
Anyone have any questions before Sarah Grace and I maybe show some examples? You can pop it in the chat or just unmute. Either one's fine.
Okay. Do I have to I have to stop share?
You can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Davida, thank you for the explanation. And I am actually using a lot for AphasiaBank for my research and teaching. So thank you so much for your management. I have a question related to teaching. I show videos from AphasiaBank to students, but now with this COVID-19, I have to record my lecture. And if I embed this video into my video of the lecture, I'm wondering about the ethic issue.
So what we've been telling people is as long as they need a password to get to your lecture material, which I assume they do, and as long as you discuss with them the code of ethics and that can they are they able to download?
No.
Then you're fine. Just
Okay.
just as long as it's password protected and we discuss the ethics and they can't download it themselves to their own computers, then that's fine. And thanks for your concern.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so any other questions before I jump into kind of demonstrating at least a couple of the ways that I have used Chat and Clan in the past for research?
Go for it.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to share my screen now. And I'm going to share the whole screen because we're going to have some moving pieces as I demonstrate different features. So first, as you know, as Davida showed you in the browsable database, the transcript format looks pretty similar. So this is just an example of one of the control participants who's in the database. And so you can see that there's this header information that gives some information about you know, who the participant is, who contributed the data. So it includes things like age and sex, whether they're control or aphasia. If this was an aphasia transcript, it would also potentially have WAB-AQ scores and the aphasia type. And then inside the transcript, the different tasks are delineated by this @G line. So this is the gem line, which tells you, okay, so we've started, this person was asked to tell the story of a cat rescue. And then as you continue to scroll down the transcript, you will find the next @G line, which says, you know, communicates that they have finished telling the cat rescue story and they are now being asked to tell how to make a sandwich. So using these transcripts can get a little bit bulky because, as you might notice, I think there are maybe 700 lines in this transcript, and it's not really feasible to just scroll through the whole transcript all the time. So the first command that I want to show you is the gem command, which will actually allow you to cut just one or two of the stories out so that you can use files that are shorter and smaller and a little bit easier for your you know, students or for you to manipulate. And the way that I'm going to demonstrate this, we're actually only, I think we're only going to pull out the participant line. So we'll actually lose the %more and the %gra line, but you can keep those in if you want them. So using our command window, you can run a command like this. So this has the gem command. So this tells me that I'm going to be operating on the gems in the transcript. And then for this, I'm going to demonstrate just on the sandwich story. So this tells the program that I want to pull the sandwich gems, that I want this output to be in the normal chat format, that I want the program to output these new files with the tag sandwich at the end so that I know what gem is in them. that I only want the participant line, and then that I'm going to do this for just this subsection of the data, which is the Capiludo database. So if you have a command like this, you can hit run, and Clan will automatically give you this output window that shows your progress and also gives you any errors if there are errors occurring. So it's always a good idea to go back through and just kind of check to make sure that nothing has jumped out as an error. So everything looks good there. If you'll notice in my output window now, we have a whole bunch of new files that are each of the Capiludo participants with the sandwich tag at the end. And if I click into the Capiludo 01 transcript now, it just has their sandwich transcript. So this makes things a whole lot more manageable if you're not interested in the entirety of the transcript. Now, I had that gem command all pre-built because I have done this a fair amount. If you are new to using these kinds of commands, one of the beautiful things that's been built into Clan is if you type in the basic command that you want to use. So in this instance, if you know you want to work with the gems, you can type in gem and then hit run, and it will actually output. It'll give you a page that explains every single option that can be used with this command. So the first few times that I was using Clan, I was constantly going back to this page and having to troubleshoot, why didn't this work? Why didn't it run the way I thought it was going to? And you can use this page to help with that. Of course, Davida is a wonderful help on this, and those screencasts didn't exist when I was first starting this. So now you might be able to just go to those screencasts and find that information as well.
And just to plug, we're also going to talk more about downloading Clan and doing Clan also on the October 15th. So we're just kind of going through some uses that we do at the moment.
Yes. So I think for me, gem has been one of the most valuable commands because it helps me, narrow down from this 700 line transcript to the pieces that I really need. If you need, for whatever reason, you think you're going to need that %more line or that %gra line, then all you would have to do is, in addition to this plus T*par, because this is telling you, look on the tier that has the participant tag. You could also do plus T star, or it's going to be T %more. Davida, you can laugh at me and tell me that I'm wrong if I'm going to do this wrong. But looks like that's going to work. And if we go now to our test folder, so now you can see that there's a new set of files that have output. And this is also something lovely that AphasiaBank does. If you've forgotten to change the tag that you want to be added to files, it will not overwrite files for you. It will just add a numeral at the end so that you'll have new files. So this is a really good sanity check for you. Like, oh wait, I don't want sandwich and sandwich 0. What's the difference between these two? I've always appreciated that. But now you can see just with that little change, we now have the participants' utterance as well as the %more line, which sometimes you will need to run additional analyses. And in fact, I'll go ahead and demonstrate that right now. So an additional command that we can use is, so Bree and I call this the freak command. I think that Davida might call this freck. So, however it works for you, but it's a command that is investigating the frequency of occurrence of words or phrases or, pieces of information inside of a transcript. And so we have used this in the past to create the core lexicon lists that Jessica Richardson and I have published. And so there's a lot happening in this command, but I want to show you, let's see. Davida, can I put a star in the middle of could I do all of the Capiludos but indicate that I want to look at sandwich 0 only? Or does the star have to go at the end?
Yeah, so no. You could do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I thought so. So now I'm telling this, I
don't even think you need the star after the Capiludo. Oh, I see. Yes, you do. Right.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So this is telling the program that I want to pull all of the Capiludo transcripts, but also telling it that we want to be looking at these sandwich 0 files. And you have to make sure that the file ending matches. So these are actually now .cex files, which is just a CLAN output file. So originally, when I was running the first commands, I was working in this AphasiaBank transcripts folder, and I'm going to need to now move my working folder to my test folder. So I'm going to do that really quickly. And CLAN is pretty smart in anticipating those kinds of changes. So I'm going to select that. So now my working folder and my output folder are the same. And here I'm going to ask CLAN to output all of the words that these speakers produce. This string here is telling it to limit some of the things that it includes. So I don't want it to include repetitions or revisions. But in general, I'm asking, and then I think it's also here I'm telling it to exclude exclamations. So they're different operators. You don't necessarily have to have all of these, but let me just show you what the output looks like when you run a command like this. Okay, so it'll tell you here's this output file, statfreak, and again, I can look and see that it does seem to be pulling all of the files that I wanted it, or pulling data from all the files I wanted. And if I scroll down, now I see this Excel file. And if I open it up, I have a list. So I have for each of my participants, every single word that they have produced. So this, because there are so many participants, there are going to be a lot of words that each person does not use. But if you look in each, if you look in each column, you can see how many participants used a given word. If you look in the rows, you can see what words each individual used. And so this is how we actually created our core lexicon using this command. So that's also a powerful way to see what kinds of words or phrases are being used by participants. And then the last command that I wanted to show is called eval. And I still have not figured out all of the amazingly powerful things that eval can do for you. So we're really just going to kind of brush the surface of what this will do. So for eval, the easiest way to run an eval command is to actually select it from your list of programs or commands. So you'll see here that this lists all of the commands. You can see that there's the FREC command that we've already used, the gem command that we've already used. And if you click on eval, it will give you this option, and it gives you kind of it walks you through how to select the different parameters that you want. So I always run eval this way. So the first thing it lets you do is select the files that you're interested in using. So let's clear this really quickly. So if we want to look at, the controls, and maybe let's look at the Richardson sample. So these are all of the Richardson transcripts. We'll go ahead and add all of those that we want to analyze. Then you click done to go to the next page. So for your eval options, you can because these are controls, you can select just the participant or the investigator. So we'll look at the participant because we still want to know, what these individuals are saying. And here, eval will let you actually compare to data that's already in the database. So I had selected here all of the fluent aphasia types, but you could also, select all of the aphasia subtypes. You could do only the non-fluent. You can select any one of these. You could provide an age range that you want to compare your speakers against. You could select sex, and then you can choose the gem that you want to look at in particular. So let's stick with sandwich for right now. So we're going to compare the Richardson controls to the non-fluent individuals with non-fluent aphasia in the database. The fluent individuals with fluent aphasia for the sandwich task. And then, so this is why I like to use eval for this, because it gets a little bit complex, depending on what you're comparing. So then again, you just click run. It's gonna scroll through. So great. There's one individual for whom there doesn't seem to be a sandwich task. So Richardson 35 and Richardson 54, it seems like have not completed the sandwich task. But all of the others did. So that's always helpful to look at and make sure that you know what your actual sample size is. Let's see. So this was output into the control Richardson folder. I forgot to change my.
Do you know that you can triple click on that output file line and it'll open?
I didn't. That's amazing.
Triple click on it.
Beautiful. My Excel is thinking now.
No?
No? Maybe? It
No.
tried.
Okay.
Let me see. There we go.
There we go.
Okay, so you can triple click on that. That's amazing.
Hot tip.
You learn something new every day. So what you can see in this eval output folder, here's each participant again in their own row, and below it is the information about how far away they are from the database that we compared them to. So for example, this is telling us how many standard deviations above or below the individuals with fluent aphasia this participant is. So here, the variables that we have are just the total number of utterances. I'm not exactly sure what MLU utterance versus total utterance is. Davida, do you want to
talk about it the next time when we go in more depth on this? Yeah.
But words, morphemes, we've got types and tokens, and then we have the type token ratio. If they have if we have the duration of the file, then we'll get a words per minute output. We've got how many verbs per utterance, how many word errors, utterance errors, the percent of nouns, the percent plural morphemes, the percent of verbs. So you get all of this really rich information at kind of the micro-linguistic level about the word usage and the structure of the transcript or that task. So in the line right below, right, this is the standard deviation. So for example, for tokens, this healthy control participant is over 1.5 standard deviations above the fluent aphasia group. If you scroll down to the bottom, you do get the mean and min and max and standard deviation of the database that you're comparing to. So you do know what the database values are. And then it does give, again, that explanation of if there's a single asterisk in the the cell below, that's indicating that that's 1 standard deviation away. If there are 2, that's 2 or more standard deviations away. And it will also tell you down here the gem that you're working with, and what you included in your database. So those are just some of the few ways, a few ways that you can use CLAN to really powerfully ask questions of the database, and get some good information. So, yes.
And that'll be it's a super good segue into October 15th. We'll show you step by step how to use CLAN.
Right.
So that was intimidating, but I think it was really great because it shows you all the awesome things you can ask of it. So just to end things really quickly, I thought I would show everyone kind of ways that this has been used in terms of output. So something that I have been working on for a while is I'm super interested in the relationship of task with some of these linguistic variables in persons with and without aphasia. So Sarah Grace mentioned the eval output. So what I've done in some of my research from my lab is I've looked at how these things differ by task and also by different groups. So an example of a recent, I think last year, publication in AJSLP, I was looking at differences in some of those eval things, which is what Sarah Grace just brought up. So noun-verb ratio, verbs per utterance, between a stroke, which is the aphasia group, and a control group from AphasiaBank, and looking at how those differ. I actually went into more detail and looked at different tasks, which you can see here. This is a broken window task, which is a picture sequence. Here's the cat task that Sarah Grace mentioned. Here's the sandwich task. So I kind of looked at how these different language variables are task dependent and how they differ by group. We've recently done a little bit more work into that with my statistician friend here at IU, her name's Julia. We wanted to understand a bit more about task interactions, so we modeled it in a more multivariate way, again, using the same output from eval, and we wanted to see how all of these language spaces were different per task. So you can see that the language emitted on a sandwich task, this is actually for a control group, looks very different from the language from a narrative task, from an expository task. So those are just some ways that you might think about using or leveraging this big database. And I wanted to make Sarah Grace blush and also refer to her awesome publication that came out in seminars in 2020, which she was talking about the core lexicon checklists. But you can see if you go to the, I think it's pronounced Thyme. I never pronounced that publisher right. You can see a whole bunch of great core lex checklists, which have been developed by Brian McWhinney and Davida, as well as by Jessica Richardson, Hannah Kim, Heather Harris-Wright, and Sarah Grace Dalton, which are all put together in one lovely place. And these are checklists that you can use in the clinic to mark off for content in some of these discourse tasks that AphasiaBank uses. And all of these were developed using that freq or frec command, which Sarah Grace also described. So there's lots and lots of different ways to leverage AphasiaBank, and hopefully that gives people some ideas. But if you're interested in getting more coding experience with CLAN, which is totally free, by the way, which I think is a real big plus because a lot of these coding softwares are not. We'll do more of a hands-on workshop October 15th. That'll really lead you through some of these basic commands and what some of those little nuances that Sarah Grace was showing, how to really leverage those. So with that, we have 4 minutes for questions, probably because I talked way too fast, but that's okay. So let us know if there's anything we didn't cover through AphasiaBank, or maybe any questions you have related to analyses or potential analyses.
Yeah, or what you would like to know more about in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be helpful for us too.
I'm wondering if, so I see that a lot of different labs contribute their samples. Is there somewhere that lists all of the participants and their characteristics? So for example, if you only wanted to look for women, like how to know which cases to pull from which different lab, I guess.
Right. Okay. So I did not show that. Here at AphasiaBank, there's this demographics collection link. So you would click on that. And need the username and password, and then there are links. So English aphasia, current demographic database. If you clicked on that, you would get the spreadsheet that would show all the demographic characteristics of that whole population. So then you could select based on whatever criteria you wanted. At demographic collections, right. And then there's the current demographic collection for the controls. And then if you're in that non-protocol section, oops, that's non-protocol other languages. Let's go to non-protocol English. Let's see, let's try Friedrichsen again. This doesn't seem to have a link to a demographic sheet, but often when you read the general overview about a corpus, those people have also contributed test data and demographic data on their sample, and you would just click and get to those from the individual, corpus. Let's see if Hopkins, yeah. So the new cookie theft, this is the picture is available, and then there's demographic data on her corpus available. So if you want, so those are the places. If it's non-protocol, it's usually at the individual site, and if it's from the AphasiaBank protocol database, it's here in the demographics collection, and there's also a test results collection that shows you BNTs, WOB scores, verb naming tests, a bunch of other tests that were done as part of the protocol. So those are both available there.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Any other questions or future desires? All right. I love ending right on time. That never happens. If you do have any questions, feel free to use the contact us form on the website or email any of us. You can find us in the member directory and just click connect, and you can email any of us. Davida is the go-to resource for all things AphasiaBank. Sarah Grace and I are happy to talk about some of the things we've done in terms of analyses. I tend to live in micro-linguistic land, so I tend to be very focused on kind of structure of language. Sarah Grace is my complementary person in that she doesn't do that typically. She more is on kind of the functional macro level of language. And so if you have any questions about those things, we can definitely get you resources or hopefully be able to help you right away.